Could the Minnesota Vikings be bringing back Kirk Cousins to be the backup bridge quarterback for J.J. McCarthy? Well, we're going to talk about it on today's show. What's going on, everybody? My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Then also the second half of today's show, Cooper Kupp is expected to leave Los Angeles and be dealt this NFL offseason. Doesn't make sense for the Minnesota Vikings. But before we dive into it, I want to get you guys an updated look here at our Super Bowl sub battle against Bears Now by Chat Sports. Right now, they got about a 33 sub lead over us. But if you guys could help me out, hit that subscribe button to help us close this gap, and maybe we can beat Bears Now in subscribers game this week. So if you guys want to stay up to date around the latest on your Minnesota Vikings, hit that sub button today. All right, let's break it down. Could the Vikings bring back Kirk Cousins to be the bridge/backup quarterback for J.J. McCarthy? And the reason I want to talk about this is because of what Kirk had to come out and say about this past season and his poor quarterback play. He actually said Cousins points to the shoulder issue for bad play, which is actually a bit of a shocker. This was not reported during the season that he was dealing with a shoulder and an elbow injury. But the quote being, "I still have a lot of good football left in me." Now, Kirk, he could be in a very similar situation that Russell Wilson was in this past offseason, where the team could just cut him and he could go sign for a 1-year, $2 million deal. But let's just see what Kirk had to say further on that shoulder and elbow injury. He said, "Against the Saints, got hit pretty good in my right shoulder and elbow, and from there, kind of dealing with that was something I was working through and just never really could get it to where I wanted it." And, I think a big question mark on the season for Kirk Cousins was, why did his play just fall off a cliff? Like, it wasn't Kirk just, started playing slightly worse. Like, he was a totally different quarterback from that Saints game, because in the first 9 games of the season, 69.2% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, had a QB rating of over 100. And then in the last 5 games, he was terrible. I mean, 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions is about as bad as it can get, and only having a quarterback rating of 64 during the last 5 games. So I believe Kirk, clearly this impacted his play. It impacted his ability to throw the ball downfield and throw the ball downfield with accuracy. And we always know Kirk, not the most mobile guy, obviously, but if he's also dealing with that shoulder and elbow injury, it makes sense why his play completely fell off a cliff this past season. So what happens next for Kirk Cousins? I expect the Falcons to cut Kirk and him to sign a cheap deal, Russell Wilson style, while Atlanta is paying him in 2025. And that's where the Vikings come into play here. Because if you're Minnesota, let's just say, you're not in love with bringing in Daniel Jones as that bridge backup quarterback for a 1-year, $10 million deal. Why not just bring back Kirk Cousins on a 1-year, $2 million deal? He already has great familiarity with this offense and the whole state of Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell loves him. He is, raved about him in every single chance he has gotten to since he's left the Minnesota Vikings. So I could really see Kirk, not a bad option. Bring him back to the Minnesota Vikings. As crazy as it sounds, I think it is at least something that the Vikings front office will be discussing this offseason. But if it's not the Minnesota Vikings, I think these are the 5 teams that are most likely to bring in Kirk Cousins on this 1-year cheap deal. Cleveland Browns need a quarterback. He's already familiar with Kevin Stefanski over there, so I think they make a lot of sense. And the Colts just kind of fits the MO of bringing in these old quarterbacks past their prime to just be that 1-year, bridge guy. So I could see the Colts being a team. New York Giants, similar situation. They could draft a quarterback at pick number 3, but also have Kirk be that bridge guy. Also, Raiders, they have a need for the quarterback position. And then if the Saints do decide to move off Derek Carr, they would need a cheap quarterback just to throw in there. So that's another team that I could see Kirk Cousins playing with in 2025. But I'll ask you guys this. What say you? Predict it for me. Where will Kirk Cousins play in the 2025 NFL season? I'll tell you what, I would actually be all in on him coming back to the Minnesota Vikings, bringing the bridge quarterback. I actually think he handled it well, getting benched from Michael Penix. I think he'd be a great guy for J.J. McCarthy to learn from. So, hey, you guys predict it for me. Where will Kirk Cousins play in 2025? Now, we'll discuss the latest Cooper Kupp trade rumors here in a second, but first, got to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, if you guys download the Prize Picks app today and plug in that promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. run your game all season long on PrizePicks. If you guys are trying to make a Timberwolves wild game a lot more interesting, PrizePicks is the #1 way to do so. And also with the big game this Sunday between the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, PrizePicks has a sweet deal for you guys right now where one Patrick Mahomes passing yard will get you one free win and one free pick on PrizePicks. So when you're creating your lineups, make sure to include this deal. You guys won't want to miss it. And if you guys head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and plug in that promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. But check them out. Massive shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, could the Minnesota Vikings trade for Cooper Kupp? So let's talk about this. So Kupp announced that the Rams are going to work with him to trade him this offseason. He actually said this is not his decision. This is from the Rams front office, so pretty interesting there. But Kupp, there's no doubt he is hitting that point of his NFL career where he's not the same guy that he was in his prime, has been in and out of the lineup for the last 3 seasons, dealing with injuries. 9 games played in 22 and 12 games played apiece in the 23 and 24 season, but never forget how special he was when Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator for the Rams back in 2021, where he had the best receiver season of all time, in my opinion, won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. But I just don't think the Vikings make a whole lot of sense for Cooper Kupp, but some other teams that do. You got teams like the Bills, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Steelers have always been linked to these big-name wide receivers. And you got the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, and the Green Bay Packers. Now, Kupp has made it clear he wants to go play for a contender, and the Rams will help him in doing so in terms of where he could potentially be playing next season. And listen, you're probably going to have to trade for Cooper Kupp if you are the Minnesota Vikings, and financially just does not make a whole lot of sense on the books for around $20 million for the next 2 seasons. But if they decide to cut him, I think it could make some sense as him as the wide receiver 3. He understands the system much better than another guy you could just bring in at that wide receiver 3 spot. But if it's between Kupp and Jalen Nailor, I'm probably cool with the Vikings just keeping Jalen Nailor at wide receiver 3. Kupp, great run blocker as well. But, I was thinking about, just these old white wash receivers in the NFL. Why not just bring back our guy, Adam Thielen? Honestly, kind of joking about this, but I would much rather have the Vikings bring back Thielen over a guy like Cooper Kupp. Thielen's been still very, very productive for the Carolina Panthers and was Bryce Young's safety blanket in the second half of the year when Bryce Young really took that next step. And also, J.J. McCarthy, already familiar with Adam Thielen. They were working out all the time last offseason. Adam still has a home in the Minnesota area, and he was working out with J.J. McCarthy, and I thought it was sweet. And he actually had some very, very kind words for the Vikings second-year quarterback. This is what he had to say last offseason, saying he's got all the tools, that's for sure. He can sling it. He's super accurate. We were wearing shorts and T-shirts out there, but you can still see a lot just from accuracy, timing, and those kind of things when you're running routes on air. He's a great kid. You don't realize that he's 21 years old when you're talking to him and when you're hanging around him. He's got a maturity about him that you can tell goes beyond his age. And that's step number 1 as a quarterback, right? To have that maturity level, have that kind of poise and kind of that aura around you that just feels confident. I thought it was hilarious, Thielen using the word aura when talking about J.J. McCarthy. But he also said, and he's a good person. But I think in terms of Thielen, Cooper Kupp, I would make it happen on Adam Thielen. How awesome would it be just to add that boost of energy and that juice into the locker room when you see number 19 walking back out there wearing the purple and gold? I would be all in on it. I know he's not going to be a total difference maker. He's not going to move a needle by any means, but for a wide receiver 3 next to Jordan Addison, next to Justin Jefferson, I will be all in on it. And considering Addison is probably going to be suspended the first 3 games of next season, it would be some good insurance for the Vikings. Even during those 3 games, you had to roll out Nailor, Thielen, Jefferson, and Hockenson at tight end. That's a great wide receiver core still to have in the National Football League. But you guys pick for me. Pick a wide receiver. Give me a 19 for Adam Thielen or give me a 10 for Cooper Kupp. I should see a lot of 19s in the comments section. I would much rather have Thielen back on the Minnesota Vikings over a guy like Cooper Kupp, but maybe you guys disagree. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you guys also want more Vikings content on your Twitter timeline, hit me up over there. The handle is @PatSeeps. If you guys give me a follow, I'll give you guys a follow right back. But we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.